Thank you.
Hey, mate. Good.
I'll start by checking on the team. You've had a full week off in training. How's everyone doing? Any injuries to know about?
No, everyone's come through the game pretty well. A few days since, training's been, I think we're pretty good on that front. Jordan's been back on the grass and hopeful he'll be involved, I would say, at this stage of 3 days out.
Good to hear. And something of a full circle moment for you this weekend. Forest are coming to the G-Tech, of course. They were the first team that you played in the Premier League when you took charge. When you look back at the development in the team since there, what do you feel that you've learned about yourself as a manager since starting out?
A lot. That day was a good example of how to deal with a bad day at the office and how tough the league is. Not that we underestimate it in any way, it was just probably where we were at that stage. And I think it's pretty obvious to see the development that we've made in the months since that. But it was certainly a tough day for us all at the City Ground. But I have to say I'm delighted with the progress that we've made since then.
And this time you'll be up against Sean Dyche, who's in the dugout. He's obviously a very experienced manager. How well do you know him and how much are you looking forward to going up against his side?
Yeah, I know him a little bit. We have mutual friends. Obviously a vastly experienced manager. He's been around and done so well as a manager. His big stint at Burnley, obviously, been the major part of his managerial career and how well he did there. So, under no illusions, it'll be a very, very difficult game. They've got some talented individuals, really talented individuals. They've obviously spent significant sums over the last few windows. So yeah, as always, very respectful of the opposition manager, the way he plays the game, his experience, and the individuals that they'll have involved, whoever they pick on Sunday.
Some great news for the club this week. Vitaly Janelt has signed a new contract, keeping him here until 2030. I know you've spoken about him as a vital cog in the Brentford machine. Tell me how important it is to have him locked down there, and also does that influence the need for you to perhaps sign a new central midfielder this window?
Fortunately on Vitaly, he is crucial to the group. I'm big on the club ethos and the way the club has been run for many years, and people that know that and understand that are really important, and he falls into that category. That's brilliant, but he still needs to perform on the pitch to the levels that he has, and I think he's shown that since he's come back from his injury, and he's grown physically and confidence-wise, and players are feeding off his confidence and how well he's playing. I think he gets other players playing better. In terms of another midfielder, not necessarily, no. I think the way we've gone into this window is, unless it's absolutely right to do whichever player we feel is the one for various reasons, then we will do it if it feels right. But equally, it is a difficult window to get really quality signings in, and we don't need to force anything, obviously.
And based on that, can I ask if you are expecting to do more business before the window is up?
Certainly open to, yeah. Again, if it feels right and the deal is there to be done for the right individual that complements what we already have going forward to strengthen us in the medium to long term, then we would certainly look at that.
And finally from me, we've spoken a couple of times in the last couple of weeks about Pinnock and Frank on interest from them elsewhere. Any developments on that front? Are you expecting them to depart the club? Not
imminently, no. I must say, I think both of them fall into the category of I understand their individual predicament, the fact that they haven't played as much as they would have liked, and as two senior players, two very talented players, two players have been brilliant servants to the club. I think we just need to find the balance with that. I'm in no rush to allow either of them to leave, I must be honest, and I think if it does materialise for either of them, it has to be right for all parties. But I think the human being element does come into it. We need to do what's right by people if we can, if we do really feel it's right that they do. If they aren't going to get the game time they need in the second half of the season, I think we need to try and find the balance with that. But I'm in no rush to allow either of them to leave because I value them highly.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Cheers.
Hi, Keith.
Hey.
Compared to when you took the job last year, how have your targets now changed for what you want to do here, if they've changed at all?
I didn't have targets, so they haven't, I suppose. I basically went day to day, week to week, game to game. I'm building a team, a squad, a way of playing and a way of working, I suppose. And from that, we've obviously got results, and we've managed to grow as a group and develop as a group, which has been nice to see. Nice to see players flourish and grow in confidence, and the way we're playing recently is really pleasing. So how does that change what we do? It doesn't really. It just makes us even more focused, I suppose, to see what we can possibly achieve this season.
If it's maybe not called a target, but an ambition, was Europe on your card?
Was it?
Yeah.
No.
So a bit of a surprise where you are now in the league?
It's definitely a surprise for a lot of people, yeah. Is it a surprise to me? Probably, yeah. If we're being realistic about where we started from and where we've brought the team to. But there's still a long way to go in the season, and that middle section of the league is very, very condensed, and we need to just stay on top of performances and the individuals, pushing them, being demanding of each other, which we speak about all the time, and see where it brings us, I suppose.
It must feel quite nice though, because I remember talking to you at the stadium when you got the job, and you acknowledged that people, thought it was a bit of a gamble. It must be quite nice to be proven wrong.
I don't really take a lot of satisfaction from that. I take satisfaction from the fact that we're a very solid team, and we're a very good side, and we're playing a football that I really enjoy watching. And again, the development of the group has been, I think it's been hugely impressive. The individuals within it, the way they're growing as individuals, the confidence levels, but again underpinned with real humility. It was zero motivation from me personally. That's sceptical outlook, I suppose, and it really wasn't. That wasn't my motivation in the slightest. It was all internal.
In terms of Nottingham Forest, what have you made of them this season? Because it's been difficult for them.
Yeah, change of manager, obviously. So well last season to finish where they did, and look like at one stage it would be even higher. Managed to get themselves into the Europa League, and yeah, football is at times a roller coaster, isn't it? Last season to this season. So what does that bring us on Sunday? It brings a team that are playing in the Europa League tonight, so that'll tell you a story. You've only got to look at the team sheet and the squad and the players that they have available. Top level players that can really hurt you, and a manager that knows his way around this division. So it's not really for me to comment on them overall and feel where I feel they're at entirely. That's not my business, but I do know it will be a very competitive game on Sunday.
If he's involved on Sunday, it'll be Rico Henry's 100th appearance in the Premier League. How important is he to what you want to achieve here and to your kind of daily business with the team? Yeah,
very important. I think he's in a really good vein of form. I think every time you speak about Rico, I speak about Rico, I kind of associate Aaron with that, because naturally they've been out for such a long time. I think we've had to be very careful about how we've got them back to fitness, playing, getting through a half, 60 minutes and being up to match speed and match intensity to the levels that we want to play the game at. And I think over the last few weeks, the performance of Rico have been really impressive. It's consistent, looks strong, looks quick, looks like the games aren't phasing him in the slightest, and playing carefree, which is a really nice place to be considering the journey that he's been on. So it's nice to hear. I wasn't aware it was going to be his 100th on Sunday, so that's nice to hear and thoroughly deserved. And
just finally from me, in terms of players who've been on a journey and doing very well, obviously there's so much talk about Igor. How good can he become?
He's pretty good now, but he can obviously continue to develop. I think there's lots of aspects of his game that we're still working on, and his understanding of his teammates and how we can help that to get even simpler goals from, and working on certain aspects of that where they don't always have to be spectacular ones, or little tap-ins and certain positional movements in the box or second phase from a set piece. And there's bits that we're trying to add to his game constantly. and I think that will add to his numbers, which will obviously make it an even more impressive feat. Cheers.
Keith, just sort of follow up for the Eagle question. Obviously, there's so much focus on the goals that he gets, but what about the work that he does that sometimes isn't seen? The effort that he puts in, which helps the rest of the team, the dirty work that sometimes in some games he doesn't seem to get rewarded for because there is a goal or it's more difficult. The opposition get the win.
I think he's immense on that front. What you're talking about, the way he leads the line, the hits he takes, the unselfish runs, the way he closes down, the way he's evolved his out of possession mentality. Not a desire to do it. The desire has always been there, but the coordinated way in which he presses now, even from the start of the season, is in such a good place. But he does everything for the team. He absolutely empties himself every single week, and his teammates know that. So it's not. You're right. It's not just about the goals. It's his overall performance, and he's very unselfish the way he plays. He's a true team player.
One of the other factors this year, from a team point of view, is the home form. I know we've talked about it before, but the results, the outcomes, the performances of the GTAC have been really strong. How much of that is something that you've wanted to use as part of the culture for this season to make that your fortress, to make it a place where no one wants to come play?
I've always wanted it to be like that, but it's saying it and doing it are obviously very different things. But in the main, we have been able to achieve that. We've produced some really, really good performances at home. Obviously had some really good results, big results, some convincing wins. There's a freedom when we play at home. There's a belief. There's a real conviction about everything we do in the main. But equally with that comes opposition teams knowing that it's going to be difficult and tweaking their game plans and becoming even more respectful, I suppose, of what they're facing. And then it's up to us to find different ways of winning games depending on what type of game it materialises into. But yeah, we're enjoying it.
As you say, you said it's not your position to comment on Forest necessarily, obviously, apart from being the opponents. A lot of people would be surprised to see the fact that they are maybe at the wrong end of the table. Does that just show the brutality of the Premier League, that you can't ever take your eye off the ball? Because I'm not saying that, but it's such a difficult league that you can have a really good season, and if you're not careful, you can slide pretty quickly with only small tweaks. Yeah,
I think that's a fair point. The league is that competitive, the levels are that high, the intensity levels. If you're not quite on it, for whatever reason that is, you can quickly become unstuck. Key moments in games, confidence is always a big part in the game. I speak about it all the time with our group. You don't just turn it on and turn it off. You've got to earn the right to play. And your performances in the main, if they're at a level, they will bring results. And again, for me, I don't know exactly what's going on there. It'd be wrong for me to speculate on it. But is it a surprise? Probably, yeah. Considering last season and what they have in terms of the ability that they have within the squad, but it is a very, very demanding league.
You talked earlier about the sort of culture of what the club is, and you've been involved and now into the head coach role. From your point of view, when it comes to thinking about developing a culture, where do you get your influences from when it comes to developing a sporting club culture that you want to see? Who are the people that have influenced you, or the organisations that you've looked at to gain your inspiration? Everywhere,
really. I think some people might expect it to be high-end businesses or sporting environments, and sometimes they can be. I think sometimes they can just be environments where there's slogans on the wall that look great and sound great, but ultimately it's just your behaviours on a day-to-day basis. I've been into charity environments, and the way they run their charity is like a top elite level, and there's only a handful of people involved. So it doesn't really matter the size of it. I just think it's how you treat people and how you behave and how consistently you do things. I say it to the players all the time. It's what you're doing when no one's looking really is the key. A bit like Eagles, some of his performances when he's not got the ball, I suppose that's an example. Just finally for me,
again, you talked about Rico and Aaron. There was a spell a couple of seasons ago in particular where fullbacks was a problem with injuries and players missing, but you've actually got almost a wealth of talent to put into those positions now with the likes of those two, but also Michael with Christopher. We know what Keane can put in that position. With the way that you want to play football as well, how important the position is the fullback, wing-back role? Really important, because I think they provide versatility and flexibility in terms of how you can play the game. They've all got different types of attributes, clearly, but they are out and out fullbacks. So, yeah, I think we've seen it in recent weeks, the evolution of them involved in our game. Michael probably all season, really, the way he plays the game naturally. And I don't want to take that away from him. I want to let him off the leash and let him attack, I suppose, and run beyond. He's such a machine. But the options that we have in those areas of the pitch are, I'm enjoying the options we have there.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we go under embargo? John.
Thank you.
Hey, John.
You handed Nottm his Premier League debut on Saturday. Obviously, we disappointed with the result, but for him personally, I imagine it's probably the highlight of his career so far. So, how big a moment was that for him, and what does it say about his progression at the club?
Big moment for him, yeah. He's obviously had cup exposure. We've been trying to help him develop his game, and he has a natural appetite and enthusiasm for the game, which I love. So it was a big moment for him and his family on Saturday. To get on the pitch in a Premier League game is really significant for someone so young. He's had to earn that, and I feel like he deserved that opportunity on Saturday, even though it was only for a few minutes. I thought he looks really comfortable.
His journey this season, obviously starting in the B team, kind of gradually introduced to first team squads and training, cup games as you mentioned, started in the company as well. Is that steady progression and integration, has that been calculated? And also, like, how close do you think he is to be ready to starting a Premier League game?
I think you always have plans for players, that how you can get them to the place you need to get them to, but they don't always materialise like that. Players can develop quicker than you think. We've had really good options in those areas of the pitch that Ramel plays. So he's had to be patient. He's had to learn off other players. He's had to learn the way that we play the game and train and our habits, I suppose. And he's certainly on the right trajectory.
And looking at the broader picture, how important do you think it is for the rest of the B team, seeing a player kind of play with them at the start of the season and then getting opportunities and grasping it?
Yeah, I think they have to see it. I think it's the way a club should work. Obviously, the talent needs to be there, but if the opportunity is there to give young players an opportunity, I will certainly be a coach that does that, because it's my background. I believe in young players. I believe in giving opportunities. So if they are good enough and they're consistently good enough, their attitude and how they look to develop their game, I'll always back young players.
And just finally, just back to Donovan, obviously he's very young still, but what attributes do you think lend himself to being a successful Premier League player? And also, what do you think he can work on still? I mean, game time will naturally help.
Yeah, game time always does for young players, and that's because that's how you develop, really. You focus your training with a view to playing in the game. That's what it's always based towards, and that's the difficult place where a player like Ramel, where we try and dip him into the B team so he gets enough minutes. Obviously, the last few weeks we've had lots of games over the festive period. He hasn't had enough match exposure, even though he played against Sheffield Wednesday. That's the difficulty of trying to keep them closer to our setup and training with us and make sure they get enough game time to develop. He just needs to keep going the way he's going, and keep being patient with that, which I know isn't always easy for young players, because invariably they want to play football. I don't know many that don't. So, just keep plugging away.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.